Well, that sounds like an important date in history, 1432. What happened in 1432? I don't know.
I was born in 1432.
Napoleon died.
No, that was way too early for Napoleon.
Napoleon died.
No, in 1432 we went to space.
Eat your food, Tina.
In 1432.
Look at these fluffy pens.
Let's fish our eggs. What do we do in 1775?
In 1775, that was right before the Revolution.
Were you
No,
there?
it says it on the flag.
Oh, that's the Army was actually founded right before the Declaration of Independence was signed. So the Continental Army was actually formed. The Army was the first of the armed services that was formed. Interestingly enough, there are more to the armed services than the Army, Navy, Air Force, Marines. There are other ones. There are other people that wear a uniform that work for the federal government that you don't even know. Like they wear what looks like a military uniform, and you don't know, and they're part of the uniformed services. FBI does not wear a uniform.
Secret Service.
Secret Service does not wear a uniform.
Service.
No.
Navy SEAL.
Topic for another day. So let's look at the ones that you guys wanted to look at, which were 14 and 32.
1432 years.
All right. 64. All right, put those away. Okay, number 14 says 14 billion, comma. So if I were doing it, I would write a 14 and a comma, knowing that that's the billion place. So 14 were in the billions. Next one would be the million. Let's see, do we have any of those? It says 62 million. Well, if it says 62 million, that means there's no 100 millions, but there are 62 of the other ones, comma. 9,080. 9,080. Well, the next place value would be 100,000. We don't have any of those. The next one would be 10,000. We don't, but we do have 9,000, comma, and 80, 080, and you're done. That's 14. 32 says, big long number, 5098472. So if I read from left to right, that would be 5,098,472. 32. All right. Anyone else? All right, let's quickly grade this. Here we go. Now, ones where it says write the number, I can call that. But ones that say read the number, well, I'm going to read exactly the way it looks. Okay. So write in words. Number 2 is 20,374. Number 4, 516,000, comma, 82. Number 6, 720 million, comma, 5,000, and that's it. Bless you. Hand sanitizer, please. Number 8, 6 billion, comma, 909 million, comma, 116,000, comma, 11. Number 10, 18, comma, 000, comma, 500. Number 12, 6, comma, 072.
You said 18.
Yep, 18 million. Number 14, 14, comma, 062, comma, 009, comma, 080. All right, I'm going to give you just a couple 16 through 30. 16 is 5 times 10 to the third plus 2 times 10 to the second plus 8, or 8 times 1. Number 18, 4 times 10 to the third plus 5 times 10 plus 8. Number 20, 9 times 10 to the second, or squared, plus 5, or 5 times 1. All right, I'll grade the rest of those. I need a one person to collect. What? Okay, do it quickly and quietly, though, Jaden. And pass out. I did put the 0 in front of 60. Oh, if you forgot to put one, well, yeah, remember it's 3 digits. It's always 3 digits. Now, I mean, I wouldn't take away the entire thing, but, and I forgot to mention you were supposed to put on the top of your page how many you missed as a reminder, because many of you are not doing that. Jameson, put away. All right, so yesterday we said the lesson was entitled decimals, yet we didn't deal with any decimals. That's because today is the class. Now, the reason why they entitled yesterday the decimal system is because there's a system in place for place values. That's kind of what they were teaching yesterday. Today, we will actually see decimals. But we will use what we learned yesterday for today's lesson. No quizzes or tests this week. Here's your homework. Copy down, please. If you want a quiz or test, I will absolutely make you one.
Really?
Sure. We'll call it the ACE test.
It would be graded.
Yes, punitively. Harshly. And it will cost you. All right, so 2 through 38 evens. It's I don't know, let's call it a twin of the last night's homework. So, excuse me, last night's homework and tonight's homework match up perfectly.
Are
Thank you.
they similar?
Very similar, except it's decimals instead of whole numbers. All right, some of you will think this is silly. I already know how to do this stuff as a math teacher, right? I see mistakes, not on the whole numbers. Everybody gets those right, last night's homework. But I see mistakes on today's all the time with 7th graders. I would bet that if I gave you 10 of these, most of you would get at least 1, if not 2 wrong. Some of you would get lots of them wrong. Let's fix this issue of reading and writing decimals, right? Hey, that's not even starting with the problem of how do you add, subtract, multiply, divide, which is what this chapter is all about, by the way. All right, here we go. So this is the class on decimals, or the first actual class on decimals. So last class, we talked about place values. We talked about large whole numbers, right? We said we had the ones place, the tens, so forth and so on, from right to left. Right? Although we read numbers from left to right, we have place values that go from right to left. All right, so it turns out, this is in box 1, please. You got a large box 1, right? Large box 1. Everything in this box, I want you to draw. Draw me a number line with 2 tick marks on the end. But leave enough space because we're going to have a couple of number lines here. Right. It turns out that between any 2 numbers, notice I didn't say any specific numbers, any 2 numbers, you can pick any 2 numbers. I'm going to pick 2 numbers that are whole numbers next to each other, 0 and 1. Nothing special about 0 and 1. I could have picked 1 and 2, or 100 and 101. Between any 2 consecutive whole numbers, they're decimal numbers. The decimal numbers live between any 2 consecutive whole numbers. Right? We haven't talked about negative numbers, so it actually is between any 2 integers. But for right now, we'll just stick to whole numbers. Okay? So between any 2 consecutive means one after the other, 0, 1. I could have said 9 and 10. Between any 2 consecutive numbers, whole numbers, that's where the decimals live. Decimals are infinite. Infinite. They don't ever stop. They keep getting smaller and smaller and smaller. The first one we'll talk about is if we have a base 10 number system. So if I break this space up into 10 even spaces, please do that. Oh, and it's not 10 tick marks. It's going to be 9 tick marks. Give me 9 tick marks. Decimals comes from the Latin word decimus, meaning 10. So if we break it up into 10 even spaces, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. But that is literally only 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 tick marks. We get the first decimal. What's the first decimal?
0.1.
What do we call it? But what do we call it? We call it the tenths place. So the first one, if we take any 2 consecutive whole numbers and we split it up into 10 even spots, we get the tenths place, right? So it starts off with 0.0, then we go 0.1, 0.2, 0.3, all the way up there. You don't need to write all those numbers, but write enough so that you get the idea. That's the tenths place. Make sense?
Yeah.
Yes.
If you had 0 to 2, would there be 1 infinite?
If I added 0, which one?
Well, if you had on the number line, if you had 0 to 2,
Uh-huh.
would there be 1?
There'd be 20.
So would Unintended set of numbers or 2?
Well, once again, there would be 20 spaces between 0 and 2 if we break it up into tenths. Yes?
If decimals means 10, that means we 10 because must means we. We 10.
Okay. Now here's where you kind of lose it. Between any two consecutive
Oh,
tenths, guess what you have?
10 more.
We get 10 more. So I could take any one of these consecutively. I could go from 0.7 to 0.8. I'm going to choose 0.0 to 0.01. Once again, draw me a number line. This time we're going to start between 0.0 and 0.1. And guess how many spaces we're going to break it up into?
10.
But we're only going to put how many tick marks? We're going to put 9 tick marks, but it's 10 evenly spaced areas or regions. What am I making here?
A number line.
What am I making in this number line?
A number.
If I was making tenths on this number line, what am I going to make here?
100
I'm making hundredths.
with 0.0.
So I start with 0.00, I add a decimal place. And then 0.01, and then 0.02, so forth and so on. All the way up to 0.1. Oh, that's wrong. Ignore that last number then. That's clearly wrong. Why didn't I catch that last year? I'm not sure.
I caught that.
I caught it.
Is it supposed to be?
It's supposed to be 0.1, the last number there.
0? Oh, okay.
We call these breakouts what? If these are called the tenths, what do we call these?
Hundreds.
Why do we call them the hundredths?
Because they're after the tens.
Okay, why do we call them the hundredths? No. Why do we call it the hundreds?
Because 100 of them fit in the 1.
Very close. Hey, how many are from here to here? What did I say this was? From here to here, how many?
10.
There's 10. But that's actually right here. So if there's 10 here, then there's
10.
10 here. There's,
10 here.
well, let's count by tens. 10.
20, 30, 40, 50, 60, 70, 80, 90, 100.
That's why they're called the hundreds.
Hey.
And you know what's inside the hundreds?
We're going to stop right there because it will get crazy.
No, it's
But yes,
10,000,
Gavin,
100,000.
that is the
million.
idea. The idea is that we can continue this process ad nauseum. That's Latin for until we puke, right?
No, it's
Nausea.
nausea.
Right. So we can continue this process forever. We're not. We're going to stop right here. But that's how we get those decimals. That's where those words come from. That's also why we don't get a once place. The number one question that 7th graders and 6th graders ask, why isn't there a once place? Why? Because 10 of these makes 1. We already got a ones place. We don't need that. We need a tenths spot. Because 10 of these, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, make 1. We don't get a once place. Number one mistake for 7th graders when they're doing decimals is they think the first decimal value is the once, I shouldn't even say it, the once place. It's not, it's the tenths place. Because 10 of these make 1. 10 of these makes 1 of these, but 100 of these makes 1. That's why you get hundreds, and then the thousands, and so on and so on. We good? Yes.
How big would a Google amount of decimal be?
Pretty small, right? Yes.
So, on the last one,
Yeah, it's supposed to be 0.1, 0.1. That's my mistake. And I will fix it for the next class. All right, yes. Yesterday, I said it was your option to write this stuff down. Today, it's not your option
It is.
because this is what you make your mistakes on. So we're going to write the place value, the names for our decimals. All right, so write this decimal number down, box 2.
Ooh.
Give yourself enough room that you can write underneath the names.
Oh, okay.
So if we continue this idea that we read numbers from left to right, all right, well, this is the ones place. There's none here. Also, we put a 0 there. It's called the leading 0. Why put a leading 0 there is so that we can identify it's a decimal number. It would not be incorrect to leave off the leading 0. You could put 0.3247521, but the issue is because the decimal place is really small, right? We put that leading 0 there just to indicate, hey, we got a decimal number here. Okay, So the first unit value is called place value is called the tenths. Write that down, please. Tenths, T-E-N, and then a T-H-S. The second one is called the hundredths. The word hundred and a T-H-S. All of these are created with a T-H-S. The next one would be the, and here's our issue with decimals. With whole numbers, we get commas. It helps us read the number. With decimals, there's no commas, ever. So we have to be careful when we read these numbers. All right, after thousands comes
100,000.
10,000. But yes, after 10,000s come, and then,
Million.
so million with a THS,
Millions.
and then
10 million.
10 million, so we'll stop right there.
No.
No, that's enough. All right, you are going to follow the pattern. Basically, it mirrors for the whole numbers, except there is no once place. Why? Because of box 1, what we drew there. 10 tenths makes a 1. There's a ones without THS, but there's no W-O-N or O-N-E-T-H-S. There's no once place. All right. I know this is not new to you, and yes, I forced you to write this down. And I'm just going to say, you make mistakes on this as 7th graders. If I ask you to read the number, or if I ask you to write the number from words, you will make mistakes on this all the time. So this box 2 is what we're going to keep referring back to. Okay? We good? I know this isn't new, but we'll act just like yesterday's our last class. The very last game we played was the new one. Same thing for today.
Why do you call it games?
Well, I don't know. For me, it's fun. All right, so it turns out between any two numbers, I picked 0 and 1, so did my math teachers. I didn't realize that this applies to any consecutive whole numbers. I'm just picking 2 random ones. 32, what's the next number?
64.
What's the next number?
Oh.
Consecutive, 33. Between any 2 consecutive whole numbers, this exists. Yeah, math teachers tend to only use 0 and 1, and kids get this idea, impression that fractions and decimals only exist between 0 and 1. That's not true. They exist between any 2 consecutive whole numbers. So if I wanted to, and I didn't make you do this in box 1, we could have chose 32 and 33. Keep that in mind. Yeah. There's a second to say. You get a point for that one, because you caught it before I caught it. All right. Okay, so this is not new, right? But we will be playing the same 3 games we played yesterday. The first game we played yesterday was what? I'm going to give you a number, and you got to write the words. And yesterday we went into this big deal about none of you could give me the rules. All right, we'll try it again, right? So we're going to write decimal with words. We're going to do the reverse, right? You will write the number if I give you words, right? And then lastly, we'll do it the new one with exponents. No, not yet. All right, so write words first game. So my claim is that yesterday you couldn't tell me the rules for reading numbers. Can you tell me the rules for reading a decimal number?
No.
Go. Oh, she's claiming we read decimal numbers from right to left. You want to agree or disagree?
Disagree.
Okay. So we're going to agree that we read it from left to right, decimal numbers? Maybe she's right. I don't know. Do you know? Or do you want to just quit this game right now and just say, okay, you're probably right, Mr. C. Why don't you just tell us?
No.
No.
All right, Gavin, tell me the rules then.
So we read from left to right.
So Gavin says we're going to read from left to right.
And what you do is you read to the decimal point, and then after the decimal point, you have to read.
What do we say for the decimal point?
Point.
Okay.
Ands.
We could say point. I'm going to choose not to state that we're going to do that.
And.
We're going to say the word and.
And then we move on, and then we say the number that is in the 10th place, and then the 100th.
No, that's not what we do. Okay. Anyone else want to try?
Yes.
Or do you just want to hear the answer?
We just want to hear.
Oh my God.
Okay. And I'm not, I mean, I made a big deal of it yesterday, and I will make a slight deal of it today. I'm just going to say, you don't know how to do this. somehow you made it to 7th grade and you can't read decimals. If you could, I'd have 8 hands in the air saying, oh yeah, I know how to do this.
I know how to read them. I
I
don't
know how to read them. I just can't.
Well, tell me what are the rules. Are we going left to right or right to left?
Left, right. left,
Okay.
right.
All right, so you're claiming we go left to right, then what?
Just first look at the decimal, like to the left side, and see if there's any whole numbers.
Okay, so we read the whole number.
Yeah, and if there isn't, you just go to the right and place the decimal. Then you read it. This is really, I think it's
There you go. I'm just going to say, if you can't explain it, you don't know it. All right, I will give you the rules. Here we go.
I'll try it.
So if you need to write this down, right, on the back, there's one empty spot. If you need to write it down, write it down. If you've made it to 7th grade and you literally can't read a decimal number, we got to fix that this year. All right, so we are going to read the number from left to right. Anything to the left of the decimal, we read it like we did yesterday. So you said it correctly. You said we're going to, anything to the left of the decimal place, read it as normal. Hey, it's the number 42, or it's 1,042. The decimal will be read as the word and. Now, Gavin said point. I can live with point as well, too. Our book chooses to use the word and I use the word and. Jameson, look. I will save your spot. Write this down, please.
No, close it.
No, we're not. All right. Decimal is the word and. It's what happens to the right of the decimal. So here's the basic rule. You ignore the decimal and you read the number from left to right. You ignore the decimal and you read the number exactly the same as you'd read to the left of the decimal. We ignore any leading zeros that exist. If it's 0.000032, we ignore all those zeros and we simply say 32. Are you listening? Are you writing it down if you need to? You read the decimal numbers from left to right as normal. You just look at the number and you tell me what the number is. Okay? We have to add one extra thing, and this is where you screw this up. We look at the very last digit, not the first, but the last digit to the right, and we determine what its place value is. If it's in the tenths place, you say tenths. If it's in the millionths place, you say millionths. That's the last rule. You add the word for the place value of the farthest number to the right. This is the one that you typically screw up.
If it's zero.
Then you don't say there are any decimals. You just say 32. Rule number 1 and number 3 are exactly the same. You just read the number as normal. But when it's the numbers to the right of the decimal place, we add this last step. Yes?
So, the last digit to the right, that goes first?
That is the last thing that will be added. So you look at the very last digit. That's the farthest one to the right. And you say, well, what place value is it in? It's in the 10,000ths place. So you say the word 10,000ths. Last. We okay?
Got it.
All right, let me show you how this works. So the steps say as follows. The steps say as follows. They're supposed to appear right here. We read to the left of the decimal place exactly what's there. If it's a 0, you don't need to say 0. You can say 0. 0 and nobody says that. Right? Some people will say points. The next rule says we look to the right of the decimal place and we just read the number. What's that number to the right of the decimal place?
2300.
It's not 2300s, it's 23. We just read the number. So we say 23. So I literally write the word 23. Then we go to, this is her question, we go to the very last digit to the right, that number right there, what's its place value? Box number 2. It's in the hundreds, so we put the word hundreds next to it and we're done. Okay. And is your decimal place. The only time you're going to have and is if there's numbers to the left of the decimal place. And I'll show you an example right now. Okay. Oh, thank you for my words there, but myanimations.org. Okay, so now we have numbers to the left. So what's that number? So if it was a more digits, you'd simply read it as normal. So we write that thing to the left, which is 4. So we write the word 4. The decimal point is the word and, for and. Now, Gavin said point. I'll live with point, 4 points. Now we read this number. What's that number? It's 23. Can everybody see to the right? It says 23. But no, it says 0, 2, 3. We ignore those zeros. Not a zero between numbers, but the leading zeros. We ignore them. That's just number 23. So we say 23, 4 and 23. Last step, we go to the last digit. It's in the what place?
Thousands.
So we put the word thousands and we're done.
Oh, I didn't.
That's how you read decimal numbers. Yeah. Okay, back up here. Oh boy, my animation's still messed up. Okay, so let's do one together, box 3. Box 3, here we go. Find the decimal place, look to the left. What's that number?
16.
So write 16, S-I-X-T-E-E-N. 16, the decimal is the word and, or point.
1,000.
Right, stop, don't go ahead. Now, we worry about what's the right of the decimal place. We just look at the number and we write what it is. We won't put commas. Right, what is it?
1,014.
It's 1,014. So you literally write the words 1,014. 1,014. This is where kids get in problem because they look at it like, I don't know, I'm supposed to say some weird words.
10.
Right? You just write what the number is. It's 1,014. You go to the last digit to the right. Where is that digit?
10,000.
Everybody, where is it?
10,000.
It's in the, let's see. For most students when they first start out, they got to count. So tenths, hundreds, thousands, 10,000s. So we put the word 10,000s and we're done. Questions? This is not new. This is not a 7th grade standard type thing. It's not something I'm supposed to teach to you like, first time. You're supposed to walk in my class and know how to do this. I know you guys, some of you can't. That's why I teach this class. All right. I got to fix that for next class. Okay, so let's do these together. Box 4. Here we go. If you know what you're doing, work ahead of me. There's my decimal point. I look to the left. What's that number? I put the word 5, F-I-V-E. And
41.
I look to the right of the decimal place. What's the number?
41.
That's a 41. So I literally write 41. Why isn't 40 spelled with a U? That bothers me. Does it bother you?
No.
Yes.
Why is it an F-O-U-R-T-Y? It bothers me.
Oh yeah,
30?
it does.
You want it to be 30. Okay.
Well, what other number changes its word?
30, yeah.
Why does 4 get to change its spelling, but the other ones don't?
Because
Maybe I want to spell 3,
no, I thought-
T-H-R-I-E.
Oh, I thought you meant replace the O with a U. No, add
I
a
know,
U.
but I'm just saying it bothers me, mathematically speaking, that why does 4 get to change its spelling, but other ones don't?
I thought you meant like replace.
It is special, apparently.
That's
All right.
the numbers that
What
It's
place
like
is
here.
the farthest one to the right? What place is the one in? Let's count. Tenths. It's in the thousands place. For me, even as a math teacher, I take my finger and I count tenths, hundreds, thousands, 10,000s, 100,000, billions. Because I know I will make that mistake. All right, the second one. There's my decimal place. I look to the left. What's the number?
100.
So I write the word 100. And, okay, what is the number to the right of the decimal place?
3,002.
3,002. You could put the word and. It wouldn't bother me. So 3,002. And the 2 is in what place? So I take my finger, tenths, hundreds, thousands. It's in the 10,000s, so we write 10,000s and we're done. Hopefully for homework, I don't give you large numbers like this because it takes a while to write those.
It does.
All right, now we come to the more challenging ones. The last one is challenging. There's no commas for decimal numbers. Hey, is there anything to the left of the decimal place?
Nope.
So we don't need, we could put 0 and, but nobody does that. So we're just going to write the number. Notice there's no commas in that. If there was a comma, you'd have to go, it's weird, right? It would have to go right there. That's why we don't put commas for decimal numbers. So what's this number? What's this number?
32,912.
32,912 is what you need to write. 32,000, you see what I mean by commas?
Yes.
Right? So 32,912, 32,912. All right. Up here, farthest digit to the right is right here. Let's see, tenths, hundreds, thousandths,
100,000.
10,000ths, 100,000ths. So 100,000ths. Who is lost? No one wants to admit they're lost? Good.
Me.
All right. The ones that have lots of digits are generally where you'll make your mistake. Or lots of zeros. We got this? All right. And my thing is waiting. So, anybody lost?
Yeah.
You don't want to be this kid because when you're lost in the woods, what happens?
You die.
Yeah, because bears eat you. All right.
No.
All right.
What was that?
Or a rattlesnake.
All right. Or rattlesnake. Well, rattlesnake isn't going to swallow you.
But it'll bite you and then you'll
Well, then
bleed out.
stay away from rattlesnakes.
That's impossible.
How do you stay away from
They're not.
Wait,
If it was an issue, people get bit by rattlesnakes all the time.
What's the saying about bears? Get back. If it's brown, get down. And polar bears just eat themselves.
No, what doesn't kill
All right.
you is
No.
Up here.
If
Up
it's
here.
bears will
All right.
kill you.
If it's
Time out.
white,
Time
if
out.
it's white,
Time
right.
out. All right. Back up here. Do we need to do 3 more examples?
No. Crush Gavin.
All right. Gavin wants to do 1.
No.
We will do 1.
God, Gavin.
Gavin, which one is the class we're going to do? First, second, or third?
Second.
Let's do the third one. Thank you, Gavin. All right. Everyone do the very last one. Everyone do the very last
Of course
one.
he does that.
The last one is generally where if you'll make a mistake, you might make a mistake on the last one.
I'm already
Is
done.
it like 3?
You're like, well, why is 3 so challenging? It's challenging because it has lots of zeros, and sometimes students are unsure of what to write.
It's 3.
It's 310.
Well, let's see. The only number here is a 3, so we write 3,
10.
and then we go tenths, hundreds, thousands, 10,000s. It's 300,000. You can. The other one is if that first 0 after the decimal place was a 1 or a 2 or whatever. What does it become now?
Something.
What does it become now if there was a 1 right there?
10,003, 100,000.
103, 100.
Now you need a comma, right? Just to wrap your head around it. So let's see. 1, 2, 3. The comma will go right here. So it would be 10,003, but it's still 100,000s. This is generally, and I will put that one on the test for sure. And that separates the people that know what they're doing from the I don't know what I'm doing. Yeah. If it helps us, but we don't put a comma, we put a comma.
So if we put it in the letter,
Oh, in the writing.
yeah, in the writing.
No. If it helps you, I can live with that. I can live with it. Yeah. No, I put a comma there just so that I can visually see it. I absolutely do. Now, if I asking you to write the answer, it's not like this. Like with words, I don't want to see any commas. Like when I ask you to add 2 decimal numbers, no, I don't want to see any commas in the decimal places. Commas in the numbers to the left of the decimal, sure. But to do this particular homework exercise, absolutely put a comma if it helps you. All right. So same 3 games as yesterday. Now we're going to do the converse. Now I'm going to give you the words. You have to write the number. So here we go. Same basic rules. What word are we looking for? What word are we looking for?
And.
We're looking for an and. Is there any and here?
No.
So it starts off with 0 point. If there's no and or the word point, none of them are going to have the word point. There's no and, then it's 0 point. So 0 point, simply ignore the last word and write that number, 161. So 0 point, and then write 161. So 0 point, 161. Now here's the issue. What's that word? So that means that this number, the last one on the right is in what place? Well, that's a problem. Now, look up here. This is challenging. We got to go from right to left to figure out where we need the decimal. So if this is in the millionths, the 6 is in the 1 is in the,
10,000.
well, then I need some extra things because I haven't got to my decimal place. And by extra things, I mean we need to add zeros. Are you lost where I'm going with this? If the 1 is in the millionths place, that would make 6 to be in the, that would make the 1 to be in the, no, 10,000s. But then there needs to be a thousands place. There's nothing there, so we put a, okay. But I need something in the hundreds place, right? So I need a 0. And I need something in the, now do you have to write these words? No. But you got to think about it for sure. Jameson? Sure. Is anyone lost on, this, by the way, this is the, I chose to do the most challenging one first. I didn't do an easy one first, I did a challenging one first. What will typically happen in 7th grade is you'll just write 161, you put a decimal place and think you got the answer. Okay? All right, let's do these 3 together. Box 6, here we go. 500s. Is there any word and here?
No.
So ignore the last word. What's the number?
5.
So write a 5. We know that's in the what spot? So, and I'm going to go right to left. What's the next place value? Well, it's the 10th place, right? So it would be a 0. And then there comes your decimal and you're done.
Yeah, I got it right.
Okay? The second one. Oh, we got the word and. So it says 9 and. So what can we immediately write? 9 dot or 9 points. What's the next word? This is a challenging one.
76 million.
76. So what am I going to write? No. Don't do it that way because then you're kind of guessing.
76.
How about you just write
76.
76? And then we'll add zeros. This can be a little bit of a problem. So this is scratch work, what I'm showing you. So then we're going to add zeros. The 6 is in the what spot? So that means the 7 is in the 100 thousandths. Then we need a 10 thousandths. Then we need a 1,000. Oh, this is getting confusing.
2 more.
Then we need a hundredths, and then we need a. Now I did mine nice and pretty. Yours, you may run out of space.
Well, you forgot.
Mine is nice and pretty.
I'm not there yet. There we go. So this is generally where I'll see mistakes. When there's a whole bunch of zeros and there's a whole number, boy, will I see mistakes. All right, last one. Is there a word and anywhere?
Yes.
Right here. So anything to the left of the word and is the whole number. What's the whole number?
121.
So I write 121 points. Now I ignore the last word. What's everything after the word and?
94.
So write 304. Don't put it next to the decimal. It might be next to the decimal. We don't know.
Yes.
So I'm just going to write 304. What word? What place value is the 4 in? That would mean that the 0 needs to be in the hundredths place, and the 3 needs to be in the. So that's why I didn't have to add any zeros for that. Who's lost? No one? No one wants to admit it. All right, we'll see tomorrow when we grade homework.
Okay.
All right, do these 3 all by yourself. Box 7. Do box 7 all by yourself. Yes, we'll do that next.
Boxes. No, the simplified thing is this.
Oh, yes, that's a mistake. Boy, that's 3 mistakes. Not a good day for the math teacher.
The simplified, just ignore the simplified. It means
Who's online right now? Josh. Hopefully you're getting this, Josh. If you have any questions, make sure you ask. Oh, I just gave you one of the answers. Look at that.
Oh, Mr. Chartier.
yes, we told
Oh,
you.
now it's disappeared.
Oh, no.
These are not the droids you're looking for.
It's 8012.
It's 8012.
No.
Where do you get it?
How do
Oh,
you get
you-
24?
How do you get? Oh wait, no, I forgot about the exponent thing.
It's
Sorry.
a little bit
It's
quieter.
All right, are we good? We got everything done?
No, I'm still trying to do it.
Which one are you working
How
on?
many times did
One.
I ask you to be quiet?
Did you see the word and, Gavin? You see the word and?
Yes, no, number 2.
Okay, you said number 1.
I did.
Is there a word and in number 2?
Yes, sir.
Where?
Another.
There isn't. So 0 point.
Yeah.
Now ignore the last word. What's the number?
169.
So just
No,
write
that's-
169. And then
Yeah.
we'll count backwards to the decimal place.
That's what I'm doing.
So we got to start with millions,
So you're saying
then 100,000s, 10,000s, thousands, hundreds, tenths, and we're done.
you just said 169.
He did, but some people like to put the word and in there.
Why?
Okay, here we go. First one, what's the number? You're going to read the decimal. You're not going to tell me. You're just going to read it from left to right. So like, I know, 5.2369. Go.
9.
What do you got? 6.9.
Nice.
You read me the second one. From left to right.
169
No, just read me the digits.
Oh. 0.00169.
Nope.
0.00.
Add another
I
zero.
said that 0.0001.
No,
No,
you
you
didn't.
didn't.
Now you did.
I just
But
did not
now
get
you did. All right.
I
Yes.
said down.
Now, there's a debate whether we want to say there are 3 or 4 zeros here. I will always ignore the leading zeros. When I say 3 zeros, I mean after the right of the decimal place. So there's 3 zeros there. Yes. You got the last one? Read it. No, read it. Only because we want to check your work. So you're going to read me. Because if you read it with words, you're going to repeat what's written right there. You're going to say 32 and 47 10,000. So I want you to read 32 point. 2 zeros?
Yes.
Okay. Now, I also don't want to say that you were reading it wrong. You're reading it correctly, by the way. 32 and 47 10,000, right? But the issue is that's the way the question was written. So if you just read me your answer, it would match exactly what's written. So in order for me to tell you got it right, you have to tell me how many zeros. Okay. We good to go? 3 games. We've done 2 of them. The last one is the ugly one. All right, here we go. All right, so big butt here. All right. The big butt here is that the last one's a little bit more
Easy.
challenging.
Easy.
Okay, think about this. We haven't talked about fractions, but this is 1/10. Yes?
Yes.
1/10. Right? How do you write 1/10 as a decimal?
1/10.
Well, how do you write it?
0.1.
0.1, right? That's literally, oh, by the way, you haven't realized it. Fractions are decimals, decimals are fractions.
Yes.
Okay?
Wait, no. Wait, are you we have the opposite?
Just stay with me for a second. So 1/10 is 0.1. Well, what's 100?
0.01.
0.01. What's 1,000?
0.001.
Everybody see what I'm doing here?
Yeah. 0.0.
Do you recognize this number, and this number from yesterday?
No.
Yes.
See them all before.
If I ask you to write those numbers, online learners, I'm pointing to the denominators. If I asked you to write those as exponents, what would you write?
Oh.
What would you write for 100
0.1.
with exponents?
10 to the power 2.
10 to the power.
10 to the power.
How would you write 1,000?
10 to the power.
And that's what we're doing today. We're going to take the decimal numbers, the place values, and we're going to write them as exponents. Remember yesterday we took the place values, 10,000, and we wrote 10 to the 4th power, right? We're going to do the same thing, except we're going to do it with decimals. So you're going to need to write this down box 8 because you don't know these off the top of your head. Only in red is what I want you to write down. Only in red. So 1/10 is written as 1/10, meaning that number right there is written as 1/10. If you're in the tenths place, it's going to be times 1/10. Okay? That's the tenths place. And red is what I want you to write down. Some people might want to write this part down, the black part, but you don't have to. What's the next one decimal place to the right? Hundreds. Well, that's 1/100, only in red. Well, that's 0.01,
That
right?
means
That would be 1 over 10 to the second power, and that's the word hundredths. You see the pattern?
no.
What's the next one going to be?
No clue.
Thousandths. So it's going to be 1 over 10 to the, you got it. That's the pattern. That's the hundredths. That's the thousandths place. 1 over 10 to the third power is the thousandths place. What's 10 thousandths? What? 1 over 10 to the fourth power. In red is what you're supposed to be writing down.
No.
What's the next one?
400.
What? Ace, please stop. 1 over what?
10 to the fifth power.
And that's going to be what place value? 100 thousandths. 100 thousandths. That's a lot of writing if you're writing the black as well too. Yes.
I was thinking that we're looking at so they have two questions that it's opposite. It says raise decimal. Sorry, but
That's what we're doing right here. Which number are you looking at?
I'm looking at 32 and 34.
Okay.
They're already written as decimals for us.
Okay. You write this down. I'm going to look at your book.
So we just put them in.
They want you to do multiplication. 32 and 34, they're asking you to multiply. All right, we good? All right, so the I had one more, sorry. But you can follow the pattern. So millionths would be 1 over 10 to the sixth. Okay, yesterday's homework, they gave you a whole number and they asked you to write it in exponential form. Today they're going to give you a decimal number and ask you to write an exponential form. These far left are the ones that you're going to use. Okay, it's the same process as yesterday. Am I good to flick the slide?
Yes.
Just follow the pattern. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay. So they're going to give you a decimal number. They're going to ask you to write it in exponential form. We go from left to right. The first number, well, technically is 0. We're going to ignore it. It's 0. The first number is a 4. What place value is the 4 in? The 10th. So we're going to write it as 4 times 1/10. So we're going to go left to right. We take each digit. So it's 4 times that, except we're not going to write it as 0.1. We're not going to write it as 0.01. We're not going to write it as 0.0001. We're going to write it as with exponents. Okay? So that would be 4 times 1/10. The bottom is what you're going to have to do for homework. Plus what? What's the next digit? And what place value is it in? So that's going to be 3 times 10. So 3 times 1 over 10 to the times 1 to the second power. Plus, what's the next digit? Another 3, except this 3 is in the 10th, 100th, thousandths place. And that will be 3 times 1 over 10 to the, and that's what they want you to do tonight for homework. When it says write in exponential form, that's what they want. Okay? All right. Let's do box 9 together. Here we go. Box 9. Hey, the first number is 0. We can ignore it. The second number is a 1. What place is it in? Place value is it in?
We don't have a box 9.
We have a box 10 with the same number.
Okay, so I'm on box 10 then.
Yeah, we have.
Somehow I skipped number 9. All right. I don't know. Clearly, I made a lot of mistakes on this one. So 1 times what? 1 times 1/10. Going left to right, we go each digit. 1 times 1/10 plus next digit. 1 over. 1 over. There you go. So that's your answer. Who's lost? Is this the same thing we did yesterday? Sort of, kind of, right? All right. The next one, we got a whole number. We got 6. So, I mean, we could write 6 times 1. Plus, what's the next digit? What's the next digit? And what place is it in? Plus 3 times
10 to 1/10.
1/10. Not 10 to the something power, but 1/10. Plus times to the second power. And there's your answer. You got to tell me if you're lost. No one's complaining right now. Yes,
So you just do, if there's a whole number,
the whole number.
you just do it times itself?
Well, if it's in the ones place, then times 1. If it's in the tens place, it'll be 6 times 10. If it's in the hundreds place, 6 times 10 squared, that sort of thing. Who's got their homework open? Do they give you anything where it's bigger than a single digit?
Yes.
What do they give you?
They give
Billions.
17.
So they give you 17. So 1 times 10,
304.
304. So 3 times 10 squared, plus 4 times 1, and then plus the decimal part.
Yeah.
So combined last night's homework with this, and you got the whole story. All right, let's do these last 2, and I believe that's it, right?
Yes.
All right, so here we go, and the ask my numbers are off. All right, so this is your box 11. The first one is a tens place, so 1 times 10. So 1 times 10. That's wrong. Oh, embarrassingly wrong there. So 1 times 10, I'll write the answer here. 1 times 10 plus 7 times 1 plus, we just got an 8. 8 times, well, let's see, it's in the tens, 100,000, that would be 1 over 10 to the
Second.
third or second.
It's second.
Look at your box 8. Thousands are in the third power. Anything in the second power is 100. 10 times 10 is 100. 10 times 10 times 10 is 1,000. Okay, last one. We got a 7, so that's 7 times 1 over 10 to the, well, you could do this. You could say the first one is 1, 2, 3, right? So 10 to the third power. Plus 8 times 1 over 10 to the fourth power, and you're done. There we go. Right on time. Done. Questions on anything I taught you today? The bell is about to ring, yes. Pack it up. Are you getting your test back? Yes, thank you for reminding me.
I want to see how badly I feel.
All right. Pierce. Elizabeth. Nick. Nick, you did horrible. Do better next time. All right, Bo. You did horrible. Do better next time.
I did
Lizzie. Do better next time. Ace.
You got it next time. Today's due.
Kira.
You got it next time.
Aiden.
Why?
Gavin. Jasmine. Ethan. Abby. Jameson. Elijah. Noah's not here. Lily. Matt, not here. Jaden.
I had it right
No.
on.
Elizabeth. Everybody got the test?
I only missed 2.
Yeah.
If you got a 95, are you allowed to put your head in
No.
You have to ace it.
You're never going to be allowed to put your head. All right, e-learners, hopefully that made sense. If not, send me an email with your questions. If not, I will see you guys tomorrow.